This is BRG podcast. I have no wall, and I'm pretty sure the internet has actually legitimately gone crazy. This is BRG podcast episode 35 for September 5th, 2016. I am your host, Warp Jester, and this is going to be another one of those wonderful Turbo editions. Hooray! I'm going to try to be a little bit less boring today. I apologize, I got called out for it again. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the BRG podcast. I am going to keep this short again because of this Turbo edition, because I do have renovation I'm doing, and I'm getting down to the last of the tear down and build up process, or before the building up process. So I gotta get back to that. But anyways, I do want to go ahead and dive into the news. Anyways, guys. So starting the thing off, as I said, I think the internet has gone a little batshit, to be honest with you. I don't know what in God's name is going on here, but it is like lawsuit and hilarity amass. I don't know. So let's start off with, we have Ark Survival Evolved slammed on Steam for paid DLC. It's a popular game. They're bringing out downloadable content. What could possibly be wrong with this? Well, the problem is that Ark is still technically a pre-release game. So we're talking about a game that still has a lot of bugs to iron out, and things to refine. And on top of that, they've released a free-to-play survival version or variant of the game, and now they've got a paid-for downloadable content that releases a lot of stuff. And, I mean, there's actually people who've actually commented and noted that, hey, this stuff is really good. There's a lot of really cool content. There are a few issues here. Most notably is things like dragons have been added. And they're saying the problem is that people can bring that into the old content. So basically it's kind of a pay to win in the fact that you have to buy the content to be able to get the cool stuff. But that's not the problem. The problem is, as I said, this is still a pre-release game. And a lot of people are starting to get very pissed off at the fact that they paid for a game that isn't officially released yet. And now they're releasing pay content for it. One person, really good quote, said, Ark started off as a shining example of how to do early access. One highly recommended negative review reads, end up with a complete disaster after the developers went on adventures of making free-to-play spin-offs, console versions, and now paid-for content while still in early access. No wonder this game is so behind schedule. And that is kind of a problem, because this game was slated for release. Well, first of all, let me back up here. It was released as early access back in June of 2015 for $30, and it was meant to be released this summer, 2016, which has now been pushed back, which likely for this. So the question really is what the hell is going on? And there's a lot of speculation to it. The article here is a little bit. There's other news sites that have gone into a little more of the speculatory aspects about why they may be doing this, including running out of funding. I don't know. Maybe too many hookers and blow, on the pay account. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So there's that whole thing going down. Speaking of the lawsuit happies and the whatnots, I'm not even sure how to feel about this here, but Battlefield 1 beta went up and immediately got DDoSed. Now, I looked through and I didn't see anything official saying who it was. I'm sure they've probably released it by now, but this is like endemic of Lizard Squad or the Poodle Idiots or whatever they are. I'm going to say a couple things here. First of all, so it's a beta. It's meant to be something that people can play and test, and having the thing DDoS to death and back really doesn't help them. So you're not doing anybody a service ever doing anything like this. This certainly wasn't to help. Betas usually have their own problems anyway, so why are you going to bother? Secondly, this is a DDoS attack. And for those of you who don't understand what DDoS is, it's basically a denial of service. You're creating an army of input from random computers, hitting the servers, trying to flood their inputs, basically. They're basically trying to clog up a line. And this is very rudimentary nowadays. It's a fundamental flaw of the internet and the way that architectures are. One thing that's used way too readily in situations like this, the term hacking. This is a hacker group. There are hackers for doing this. They're not. They're a bunch of douchebags. This is very fundamental. It's very easy to do. Denial of service attacks don't require any hacking skills. You can download software and DDoS anything you want nowadays. This is just not cool. And once again, this is a matter of people like the Lizard Squad. They're just being assholes to be assholes. There's nothing positive about this. They're just doing it to make waves. And, to them I say, you're a bunch of douchebags, dude. Seriously. There's no reason for this. There never was and there never will be. These are literally people that sit there and have no life and want attention and are doing bad things to get the attention. So we're going to move on from that. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that there's problems, but I did hear some good reviews from the Battlefield 1 beta testing. So I'm actually looking forward to the game. And if there's any way I could afford it, I would definitely love to try. Speaking on the topic of ass hattery, and I said this a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, but Nintendo kills off over 500 fan-made games using Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon characters. The long and short of this is companies are constantly DMCAing content that's infringing in some way. If you own, Mickey, you don't let people make Mickey and then, sell it for profit or give it away or whatever. It's your IP. It's your copyright. Nintendo has gone above and beyond the Call of Duty on this by submitting in the order of 562 takedown requests from indie game site Game Jolt. 562. These are all fan-made games that Nintendo basically said cease and desist on. And it seems kind of assholeish, I'll be honest with you. But the fact of the matter is they kind of have to. And this is where we get into a very kind of sad state of affairs when it comes to law, especially copyright law or trademark, which is if you have it, you have to protect it. If I create a character and don't pursue people who try to copy it, I lose my rights to that character. So technically, Nintendo's obligated to actually go after these people. And for the most part, from looking at the list of games that are taken down, they're pretty much games that have, I would say, noble iconic characters or even the names being used, which pretty much got shut down. There is, like, for example, there was a Pokemon variant that was like Escape from Magenta Town or something like that. No, it was blatantly like a Pokemon, like Game Boy style Pokemon game, but there's no reference to the name Pokemon in it. And that may have saved them. They may have just gotten missed or overlooked, but it gives you an idea of what they're going for. So it's unfortunate, but because of law, it has to happen. So yeah, especially dumping 500 at once is kind of an asshole thing to do. Nintendo's well within their rights, and they kind of have to do it. So I can't hold it against them too much. But the problem is, whenever you go after fan-made stuff, you literally are slapping the hands of the people who love you. So just companies have to bear that in mind. So there you go. To switch gears here, this is going to be a fun one we're going to spend a little time on. I hate to say it, but side note, if you want to see a list of games for the Nintendo Takedown, I have links in the show notes that actually have the entire manifest of all the games. But anyways, switching gears here, this is going to get my dander all kinds of frazzled. So BT, British Telecom, is taking Valve to court over patent infringements. 4 patent infringements, no less. Oh, God. Okay, so going to try really hard not to get too errant and throw too many F-bombs, among other things. But I'm going to start off right now by saying I am so sick and tired of patent law, because the whole idea of patents was to protect your intellectual inventions so you have time to market them, so that you can create the next great idea and have time to actually create it and sell it and make a profit. So you can actually, God forbid, earn some money from the things you create, which is fine. The Problem is patent law is so horribly broken that it just isn't the case. Nobody, in all these cases we see as courts come up, people aren't protecting their content that they're actively trying to do anything with. They're just being douchebags about it. And this is a great example of it. So British Telecom is taking Valve to court over 4 different patents. And we're going to talk about these individual patents here because the first issue is they've had these patents, some as early as 1998. And they're just now getting around to going after Valve for this. This is money grubbing at its best. The only reason why I go after these people is because now is the time to strike because they got a nice little fat wad of cash they can go after. And that is the only reason for this. So British Telecom. First of all, British Telecom is exactly the same. It's a British Telecom. They're communications. What kills me about this lawsuit, first of all, is that when you actually look down the actual thing here, this is the actual court papers that were submitted. So British Telecom, first of all, submitted this in Delaware in the United States. Why? Well, because first of all, I believe Valve is actually incorporated in Delaware. Delaware is a state that most companies incorporate out of for tax and other reasons. So they're submitting this in Delaware court. And the thing that just right off the bat got me when I was reading through this. This is 28 pages of fun to read, by the way. They go through this wonderful background about British Telecom. Man, they are wonderful people. British Telecom has announced that it is taking Valve to court over this. They start off by saying British Telecom is the oldest telecommunications company in the world, with traces the original electronic telegraph company, which incorporated back in 1846. They were the creators of communication. They were there from the beginning. They're old school. They go on to say it has continued to maintain its long-standing commitment to research and innovation by spending £470 million sterling on research and development and the scientists that they employ to do it. Basically, just look at us. We're wonderful people. We help the community. Oh, for the love of Christ. Giant piles of douchebags. They then go on to go ahead and start citing the patents that Valve is supposedly infringing. Now, let's step back here for a minute. British Telecom is a telecommunications company. They do a lot of things. They are a large corporation. But one thing they don't do is they don't do games. What does Valve do? When I tell you Valve or Steam, what do you think of first? Not communication, really. I'm pretty sure you're all like, game downloads. Yeah, that's not what British Telecom is going after them for. They're going for 4 patents. So the first one is the Giddens patent. And forgive me, I'm going to read these because I want you to understand these are the actual technical outline of these patents. This is not condensed per se. So the first one is the Giddens patent, which relates generally to providing users with content that originates from multiple subscription services and delivers it through a single portal where a customer may access content for which it has access rights. Okay, it is lawyerese. Sorry, I forgot to preface that. This patent goes on to say the user requests content directly from the portal instead of requesting content separately from each of the subscription services. The portal can also obtain items from the remote source or alternatively from an already accessible storage associated with the portal. Basically what they're saying is they have a patent for allowing somebody to go to a particular place to grab all this different content, to download it, and then to access that content either through the portal, online game, or to load it from your hard drive. Okay. I also want to point out the right off the bat relates generally. They are being as vague and broad as they possibly can on this. Now, in this particular case of the 4 patents, I will say right off the bat, this is the most specific one I saw. Great. They then go on to note the other 3 patents here. The next one is the Newton patent, which relates generally to a method for delivering structured messages comprised of information and data parts to an intended audience in a reliable and predictable manner. Messages are stored as files, and they go into general what? I'm trying to get the legalese here, but a method for delivering structured messages comprised of information and data parts. This is so generic and broad. It's flippin' ridiculous. You cannot get more stupid than this. We've developed a way to send stuff over some platform in some manner from one thing to another in a predictable way. Okay, you've just described every single communications avenue possible. Let's talk about prior art here, for example. Like the early days of AOL and other chat things online, among other things. They're literally attacking Valve, a gaming company, for its messenger service. Really? Really? Give me a goddamn break. Jesus, Mother of Mary. There's also the Beatus patent, or however the hell you say it, relates generally, again, to a communication system in which a user is provided with different communication mechanisms, and each mechanism associated with the user is determined to be logged into the system. Persistence. Oh, I can't do this anymore. Again, communications aspect. One is delivery of information. It could be content on a web page. Now this is saying chatting back and forth with somebody. Again, it's so goddamn broad. And this patent was patented in 2000. I'm pretty damn sure there were messaging systems out there well before 2000. I know because I used them. For crying out loud. Give me a break. The last one they have is a Buckley patent, which generally relates to a multi-user display system. I've got 6 monitors here. I'm already screwed. Method of controlling communal displays that include it. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me start here. Relates to a multiple user display system and method of controlling a communal display that includes at least 2 independent workstations and an interface server for connection to a data network. This was a patent developed and patented in 2003, and as near as I can understand the lawyerese to technical translation, I think what they're saying is if you set up a game server for multiple different people to connect to and interact, that's their patent. This is dumb. This is beyond dumb. This is like the technical definition of frivolous. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I am beyond words on this, just because literally you have this broad range of patents that they're just going after people for. They're not doing any of this in any real capacity. Well, actually, technically they could be, because the damn patent is so broad. Taking your dog for a walk could damn near qualify. I mean, seriously. It is so goddamn sad. Anyways, so that's the lawyerese for it. But basically, and this is kind of a general consensus among a lot of different news reports, this is just British Telecom going out to get some money. That's all it is. We bought these patents or developed these patents, and now we're just using them to make money. We're not actively practicing a particular thing that Valve is directly competing with. And this is the big thing is that, again, if you make a patent, the idea is to protect the rights of it for some period of time so you can make a profit off it. We've got patents there from 1998. That's damn near 20 years ago, all the way up to 2003. And they're suing people now for them. This is patent trolling at its finest. And this is from a company that I would not think to be a patent troll, to be honest. So, just saying. Anyways, so yeah, there's that. Moving on away from games, we're going to go into the media realm. This is a big thing that's come up, and man, there was a ton of drama around it. Holy crap. So YouTube is quietly attempting to clean up their act. There's so many different titles for this, but the long and short of it is is YouTube is flagging a bunch of YouTube channels content as non-monetization. Basically, people can't put money or can't put advertisement against their creations. Basically, because it's not preferred content for advertising against. What they're basically saying is your content isn't clean enough, kind enough, PC enough, whatever the case may be, so that we can put advertisement against it. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to not let you actually run ads against it. Now this is created a lot of issues for a lot of groups, because there are people out there that have what falls into questionable content, that they actually make their living off of the YouTube commercial revenue. Now, there's two issues here. The first of which is the content that they deem inappropriate. It can be anything. It can be topics that are considered sensitive. So somebody makes a comment about, or a news report about, the stupidity of North Korea and how really petty they really are, like I'm doing right now, could be perceived as a little bit too touchy and be demonetized because of it. Using excessive amount of swear words, technically, is in their outline that they should be not allowed to have content. And here's the basic run. So, sexual suggestive behaviors, duh. Violence including displaying a series of injuries and whatnot. Okay. Yeah. Inappropriate language including harassment, profanity, and vulgar language. Okay, harassment, I absolutely agree with you. Profanity, whoop-de-fucking-do. See? Vulgar language, I don't want to see people, like, using inappropriate language to describe other races, sexes, etc. But things like swearing, it's ridiculous because swearing, like, nowadays, like, just using the term fuck, it's more of a word that's used as an adjective or a verb. It's less an offensive thing, at least for our generation versus old generations. And this is where we get into a really bad gray area. Is it offensive? For some groups, yes. For other groups, no. Other cultures, yes. Some cultures, no. There are things that are completely PC here in America that are very offensive in other countries. As a matter of fact, I encourage you to go over to Thunderfoot's channel, and I'll have the links in the show notes for you. He actually has a good 20-minute conversation about this. And what I like about his video versus others is it's not them just ranting about the situation. It's him explaining the situation. He does a good job explaining the aspects about what's considered controversial. Because even bringing up a conversation at all about any Muslims in some Jewish communities may be offensive. Acknowledging the existence of certain countries can be offensive. So there's a lot of misunderstanding in that regard, and it's very, very unclear. But the long story short is people are getting very pissy about it. Now the other side of this I want to mention, and this is one thing that I have a personal opinion on, which I'll explain, is the aspect of this is Google squelching free peace. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not. And I'm sorry, but the fact of the matter is this has nothing to do with free speech. Now, first of all, again, I'm going to speak strictly from the American realm of this because I live in the USA. This doesn't squelch free peace. This is a private company that has a private avenue for you to post things on to. And they're not even cutting that off. They're just saying you can't make a profit off of it. This is not a squelching of free peace. There's nothing in the rule books anywhere that says private companies have to give you a forum. Facebook doesn't have to let you post anything. They don't have to let any of your posts show if they don't want to. And that's their right as a company that owns a platform. Okay? That's the way it is. It's unfortunate, but it is the way it is. The other thing about it is when it comes to this whole thing is there's always been talk about, well, but this is, Google dominates, YouTube dominates. Well, it does. But these are the kind of things that happen, and if this actually gets severe enough, these are the kind of things that happen that cause a cascade effect into other secondary companies that do the same kind of thing to start making a rise. It's called competition. And theoretically, in a free market society, this will balance out. How it's going to do it, or if it actually does do it, I really don't know. I've always been a Google supporter. I'm an avid Google person. I'm not a Google fanboy per se, but I do use a lot of Google products, and I do appreciate Google products. I don't appreciate this. I'm not personally affected by it. I have no channels that make monetary income off of Google specifically, so I don't really have a horse in this race in that respect. But just like with anybody else, since I do post this on YouTube, I could have my content taken down for any reason at all. They can just turn my channel off at any time if they want to, and they don't have to give me a reason. There's no obligation to them at all. They can just turn it off and be done. And I'm a small player, so nobody would ever know about it. But that's what they can do. But this goes back to the aspect, and this has been said many times, is this is what happens when you put all your eggs in one basket. Yes, it is by far and away the biggest basket. But this is what happens when you just deal with it. For anybody who deals with only posting videos on YouTube, only getting their monetary income from advertisement from YouTube, this is what's going to happen. What's the alternatives here? There are alternative places to put your YouTube content up on. You can go to Vimeo. You can go to a couple of, like, actually, as a matter of fact, one of people, Zero Plays Games from Minus the Rumors, he sent a link to me that shows a whole bunch of alternatives. Yeah, there's restrictions on some of them, but there are alternatives. Here's the other thing. Alternative forms of income. Find alternative ways to make your income. There are plenty of YouTube videos you see out there that within the YouTube video, they take a break to talk about Audible, or they talk about the new Egg Express timer or whatever in their video. That's them taking independent advertisement and advertising in their thing. YouTube still lets you do that. You are still allowed to actually have advertisements in your videos. You can have a video that is an advertisement, and you get paid that way. There's also Patreon. You can take Patreon support. Now, there are some people that do that. I want to keep my content coming for free, meaning as long as you watch my commercials, I can keep bringing the content. I don't have to ask you for money, which is admirable and meritable, and I agree. Different strokes, different folks, and different things are going to work better. Some content is best off with a paid sponsorship, like ad promotion, either through Google or through outside of Google. Some of it's better for Patreon type things. But the point is that you need to have alternatives. You put all your eggs in one basket, and that basket falls, all your eggs are going to get broken. I'm just saying. So I'm sorry for taking a dismal view about this, but the fact of the matter is there's a whole lot of screaming and crying. And while there is a lot of content out there that legitimately is misflagged or channels that I really don't think deserve this, there's a whole bunch of channels, and probably the biggest ones and making the most noise, that are the drama channels that are having absolute spaz attacks about this. And rightly so, because again, their content really does hover on the border of, pushing their limits. On a side note to that, I will say also that the big issue is there's still a lot of content on YouTube that I personally, in my opinion, would consider to be poor content for advertising against, like certain prank videos that are not flagged, that are still getting ad revenue. So it's not a perfect system. Will Google fix it? Well, with this much backlash, I'm certainly going to do something, but I don't know what. All in all, I will say I think this whole situation was a pretty coarse misstep on the part of Google. And I think they need to do something to correct it or figure out a better way to do things. Just my take on it. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and finish out here news-wise with an alternative little bit of fun here. If you guys hadn't heard about it, there was an opportunity or a possibility that said he actually heard the first blips of alien life. And just in the course of the week before we got to the podcast, sadly, it got doused. It was Russian military. Sorry. There is no ET yet. There's certainly a possibility, and as a matter of fact, I would say even nowadays, even more likelihood that there's a possibility of extraterrestrial life, whether it's intelligent life versus basic life, I don't know. But it's a possibility that it's there. That said, we ain't seen it yet, and they sure as hell have not been here to give us butt probes. Just saying. Anyways, guys, this is actually a longer of the turbos, just because we had a lot of really interesting topics here. Again, all the links in the show notes, so please head on over to the website. You can go to the forums, check out everything there, as well as our news page where we have a lot of news. We're a little bit behind here. We apologize. Quite frankly, there's a lot of stuff going on. We're trying to get our website reordered. It's not working out the way we want to. And our illustrious leader, Linz, has been horribly swamped with that in real life and everything else. And she's also the one that puts up the notes for the show. So again, my apologies. We'll try to get with this as soon as we can. Nonetheless, go over, check us out. As a matter of fact, if you want to come by and say hi to us, if you're interested in helping out in any way, we have a lot of positions available, a lot of great people to join with, a lot of fun things and tasks and whatnot that we're doing. So please feel free to come by and check us out. Likewise, of course, as I said, always, we've got a wonderful YouTube channel here. We've got a lot of content always coming out. So stay tuned for more stuff from there. And if you like, you can always hit us up over on Votable. Give us a rise, so to speak. Say hi, post a few things. We always love to talk back with you. And if you have the ability, outside of Google monetization, since we don't do that, you're welcome to stop by our Patreon account and give us a few dollars. Again, all this money goes right back into the community, 100% of it, so that we can do a lot of fun stuff to give back to the community. So we appreciate it. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. I do appreciate it. And just a heads up, I have some absolutely stellar news. As I told you before, there may be some things changing with the BRG podcast. So I'm looking really forward to that. And the short of what I'm going to say is, it's good news. I'm very, very excited about what's coming in the pipe. I'm just going to leave a cliffhanger there for now, but there is good things afoot. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys, take care. Bye.
We'll be right back.